Hello and welcome to my reviving channel thing. I haven't posted in a while, but I want to start posting more on here because I like doing like talking videos, and on TikTok I can't really do too much of those. I just kind of make like random little book videos, but here I can recommend you some really good books. So hi, my name is Kaylee and I like books. Today we're going to be doing a second chance romance book recommendation video, and if you know me, I love second chance romance. I think it's the cutest trope. The moment that they like see each other again for the first time in like so long, I can't get over that moment. Like if an author does that really well, that will be the highlight of the book. I love it. So we're gonna make a video based on that trope because I feel like it's getting really popular and I want to give you some good recommendations. This also kind of intertwines with the childhood friends to lovers trope, because a lot of second chance romance is like when they were younger, they had a thing, separated, now they're older, and they have another thing. So they kind of intertwine. I'll explain like which books have that trope as well, but let's get into it. We're gonna start with probably, I would say, the most popular second chance romance book, but I can't not put this book in because it's one of my favorites. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. For those of you who haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. It's a 5-star read. So it's about Macy, and she's older, she's like a doctor, she's like engaged to this guy, whatever, she's like living her life. Then one day she's out with her friend and she spots Elliot, this guy who she had like met when she was like 12-13 years old and fell in love with in her teenage years. Then they split apart for 11 years and they moved on with their lives. However, you don't know the reason why they split up until the end of the book. It goes past and present point of view, which I love, past and present point of view, because I love the flashbacks and seeing like their original relationship, because I love the childhood friends to love trope. So basically they see each other, they're like, oh my god, blah blah blah, but she has a fiance and he has a girlfriend. If you know anything about Elliot, like, I'm not going to spoil this book for those of you who haven't read it, but those of you who have read it, you know what Elliot does, you know what he does, and it's just this book is one of my favorites. It is crazy, the story. The ending is so sad for no reason. Like, why is it so sad? This book is so like cutesy, and then the ending, I was like, anyways, you should read this. The next book I'm going to recommend is basically the same book but more summery, and it is Every Summer After by Carley Fortune. So this novel follows Persephone Fraser, or Percy Fraser, and she receives a call from someone from her past, the brother of someone she used to date, used to have a thing with when she was younger, and she ends up having to go back to this like beach kind of town where she used to go on vacation and everything. So she ends up having to see this guy, Sam Florek, who she used to have like a relationship with when she was younger. Basically it is the exact same as Love in Other Words. They met then, they were like really young, like pre-teens, and they had like a teenage romance together, and then something happened and they broke up and they lost connection for years and years and years, and then now they're reconnecting and they're trying to solve the issues they had when they broke up. And you don't find out why they broke up till the end of the book. And it goes past and present point of view, of course. It follows like 6 summers of their relationship. The ending, I would say, not as shocking as Love in Other Words as to like why they broke up and like what happened, but I was like shocked. I don't really know how I feel about the ending of this one, but still like really freaking good book. These two, I would say, are like the most similar books I've ever read, but in the best way possible. Like they both take place of like finding a lover on a beach house town, like spending summers with them, drifting apart, coming back together. Very, very good. Okay, sticking on the summer theme, we're gonna move on to People Who Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This one's pretty popular. I'm pretty sure you probably know what it's about, but those of you who don't, let me just explain a little bit. So it follows the characters Poppy and Alex. Poppy is like really eccentric and like out there. Alex is a lot more mellow, but they kind of complement each other that way. So they meet and they end up like going on vacation with each other every summer. So it follows like different summers until this one summer where something happens between them and all of a sudden they just don't go on vacation with each other anymore. So this like work trip comes up for Poppy, and she invites Alex to go with her even after they've had this like falling out. They haven't talked in a while, so they go on this vacation and they kind of like mend things that kind of ruined their friendship and their relationship before. But it follows like each summer leading up to the disastrous summer that like something happens between them. And I love the characters, like the characters' personalities. Emily Henry got it spot on. Like Poppy is so full of personality. I love it. And Alex is just like one of the best book boyfriends ever. Like I love him. Just read this book. You should just give it a shot. Just give it a shot. We're gonna stick with childhood friends to lovers and move on to this sad book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I absolutely love it. I know this might seem like cheesy and cutesy, but I never bawled my eyes out more than reading this book. It follows Poppy and Rune, another Poppy, surprisingly. Not a very popular name, but whatever. Poppy and Rune and their children, like 5 years old literally, and they become best friends. They grow up together, they live their lives together, whatever. And then one day, Poppy ends up having to move away, and Rune is very, very sad, obviously. And they're like, no, we'll stay in touch, we'll stay in touch. Then Poppy doesn't stay in touch, and Rune has to kind of grow up without Poppy, and he's like, what the frick, man? Like, she was my best friend, she's the love of my life, what happened? Then Poppy ends up coming back, and you see why she cut contact with Rune, and it is a very sad book. But they do get their little second chance romance, and I'm sorry, but like, I've never cried more at the end of a book. I've literally bawled my eyes out to this book. I could not recommend it more. Childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance. Oh, just so freaking sad. Alright, next we have Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. This one I would say is kind of similar to Every Summer After by Carley Fortune, like the summer theme to it. This is also Canadian. I think that's why it reminds me of it too. This one follows Piper Calloway, and she's older. She's like 29 years old, and she works for her father's company, and she's like really high up. She's like a girl boss. I love this girl. One day she runs into the new security guard at her building named Kyle, who she recognizes as her summer fling from one summer when she was a teenager at camp. So this is past and present point of view of her summer at the camp with Kyle, and her present life working at this building with Kyle as a security guard. And her dad does not like Kyle, so she has to hide the fact that the security guard is Kyle from her past, because they did some things back in the summer that kind of got her in trouble. She realizes she still has feelings for him despite not seeing him for many years, and she wonders like why he never contacted her after that summer. You find out the truth, and let me tell you, crazy stuff. Okay, we're gonna move on to two books that I think I have to give trigger warnings to. They are a little bit more serious, a little bit more traumatic. So we're gonna move on to 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. So this book follows Ava Mercy, and she is a single mom and a best-selling erotica writer. So, you know, girl boss things. Ava went through a really tough childhood. She didn't grow up in like the best of situations, doesn't want that for her daughter. So one day she runs into Shane, who for 7 days in June, many years ago, they kind of instantly fell in love, which I don't love the instant love trope, but this is not really that, so don't worry about that. So it does go past and present point of view of those 7 days back in their past when they were like kind of a thing, and then present day where he is a writer and she is a writer, and for many years they've been writing books kind of to each other. Like his main character in his novels is her, and her main character in her novels is him. They both secretly know that they're writing about each other, but their past is very traumatic. They have a lot of substance abuse and self-harm in their past, but now that they're grown up and everything, they realize that they still have feelings for each other. Or they never really left anyways, clearly, because they've been writing about each other for years. Back in those 7 days in June, something happens and Shane loses contact with Ava, and you don't really know why until the end of the book. I feel like every book is the same. Like, you don't really know why until the end of the book, but in the end it's always like for a good reason or whatever, I guess. So this is a really good book. It's really well written. and very serious topics, but very, 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 very good. The next one I want to talk about is kind of similar. It's Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. I love this book. I'm just gonna say I love this book. It is also very serious. So one day, this best-selling novel by this guy named J. Colby comes out, and the main character, Emmeline, is recommended it by her roommate, and she's like, okay, sure, I'll start reading it. She starts reading it. She realizes this guy, J. Colby, wrote about her childhood. Then she realizes J. Colby is her best friend from her past, Jace, and he wrote a whole story about Emmeline's childhood trauma and his childhood trauma, and basically became famous from it. It goes back and forth between chapters of this book versus like the actual life that Emmeline's living. And eventually she goes and finds Jace and is like, why the frick did you write about my childhood trauma? Like, why did you write about me? And in their past, you find out that they were in love. They fell in love when they were teenagers. They've always like been each other's person. And then they ended up having separation and losing contact for many, many years. This book actually helps Emmeline heal from her past, heal from her trauma, which is basically his goal in the end. It's a very good book, very well written. Highly, highly recommend. Okay, this one is a little bit different. This is not the same as those ones. I feel like all of those ones kind of have the, we dated when we were younger, we split up, we lost contact because of some big thing that happened, and now we have a second chance. Oh my god, there's a bus outside. Anyways, this book is a little bit different. I love Emily Giffin. I feel like she's not talked about on BookTok a lot, but she's a really good author. So it's called Love the One You're With. So it follows Ellen and Andy, and they get married and they're living their best life. They have a really good marriage. It's perfect. They're perfect for each other. But one day, Ellen runs into Leo, who she used to date, and they haven't seen each other for like a decade. And then all of a sudden, Ellen starts getting second thoughts about her relationship with Andy. Does she still have feelings for Leo? All these things. Leo left her heartbroken for no reason, according to Ellen. Like, he just kind of ended up breaking up with her. But Ellen begins questioning her entire life with Andy and thinking if she should have ended up trying to work things out with Leo. So it's kind of a love triangle almost, and I know people don't really like love triangles. I personally do. So this might not be the book for you if you don't, but she has to decide basically, does she still love Andy, her husband, or is she wanting to try to fix things with Leo? And it's pretty good. Now, moving on, we're gonna do 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid books. Let me tell you something. I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid has 2 different categories. She has like her big like girl boss feminist books, which I would consider like Daisy Jones, Carrie Soto's Back, Malibu Rising, with all these like powerful like character-based stories. And then she has these other books that are all based on marriage, and I think that's amazing. But Taylor Jenkins Reid, I'm not even kidding you, will make you so scared of marriage just because of what her characters go through. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Her books kind of make you fear marriage. Now that that's out of the way, we're gonna start with Taylor Jenkins Reid, One True Love. In this book, Emma Blair gets married to Jesse, her high school sweetheart. They love each other, best life, living their best life, until on their first wedding anniversary, Jesse is on a plane and he goes missing, and he's presumed dead, like he's just gone. Obviously, Emma is heartbroken and she can't move on for so long because this is the love of her life. Then she's in her 30s and she runs into her old friend Sam from high school too. And this is kind of their second chance. They ended up getting engaged and she's finally ready to move on. Until Jesse is found alive. And he comes back for Emma years later. And now they're in a sort of love triangle issue. I know. So, love triangles are tricky. But done well, they can be really good. I promise you, this book does the love triangle well. and it is still second chance romance, and basically she's getting a second chance with both of them, and she has to choose. I really want to know other people's thoughts on this because I love knowing people's thoughts on love triangles. I love seeing what people think. It's kind of like the Jeremiah Conrad thing. Which team are you? Personally, I'm team Conrad, but you know, well, that's a topic for another time. Okay, this next book is Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am only like 100 pages in, so I can't really say too much about it, but I did not know this was like going to be a second chance romance until I picked it up, and I was like, Keely, you said you were going to stop reading second chance romance books, but apparently I didn't. This book follows 29-year-old Hannah, and she is kind of in a rut. She's not really doing anything with her life. She has no career, no life, no family, anything. And she moves back in with her friend Gabby, and one night she's out with Gabby and she meets Ethan, her boyfriend from her past, and he ends up asking her to like go home with him. So this book is weird because it is two different point of views. If she says yes to Ethan and ends up going out with him and what happens then, or if she says no to Ethan, goes home with Gabby, and what happens then. So it follows two different plot points of like a what if scenario. What if this happened? What if she didn't go home with Ethan? What if she did go home with Ethan? I'm 100 pages in. So far so good. I can keep you updated on my Goodreads. If you want to follow my Goodreads, it's just at Kaylee Klein. I do write reviews at the end and I'll give my rating, but Taylor Jenkins Reid never really disappoints, so I don't expect to hate this book. I will probably be done it by today, so yeah, that's that. Anyways, that is all I have for you today. If you want more book recommendations, comment what tropes you want me to recommend. I've pretty much read them all, and I'm trying to stay away from second chance romance, so I will be reading more of other tropes. Also, if you look in the description box, I have all the titles listed, plus a few more that I didn't talk about because I don't want to run your ears off. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.